candid about losing elections, because you've also seen me when I've lost elections, by the way. He's my accountability person. He has even seen me when I'm losing seats, so when people have said I've never seen the inside of Parliament. Maybe I should start with that question of how do you actually move? By the way, how do you give credit to what is due? When you pray, say, God, I want to be member of Parliament for Reno, but let your will be done. Are we together? Because God's, he has higher thoughts than ourselves. I wouldn't sit here and tell you that it's all human-made. Because we give ourselves too much credit when it's actually God's providence. When I look back at now being the Ghanaian spokesman, to be honest, I look at my CV and I can say I was being prepared for this job, even before I knew it. I would be like a program officer in an NGO, but then I was also dabbling as a PR officer. You get it? I would be doing advocacy. So you can see by the time now, even you look at the credentials, nobody can question whether Mwaura can actually do that job. So allow also God to guide your steps. For those who are Christians, and all of us, in the book of Psalms 118, 105, but let him guide you, let him be a lamp to you, so that then you make the right decision. The book of Proverbs 24:3 says it takes wisdom to build a house, but understanding to sustain it, to establish it, something like that. So you have to have that aspect of where you want also to fulfill your destiny mandate by asking God to guide you. That's the only way I can explain it. I can't come here and tell you that I am the most intelligent person who knows when to move. Sometimes when you're moving, it is so difficult. The kind of loss that you get in the process, you even think yourself you are going to sink. But it happens to be the right one. And in fact, I was comforting our competitors in the last election by telling them, don't feel so bad. If you had won, you would be the ones on this other side. So it's not that you made the wrong decision. It's just that there must be one win. So sometimes I have also made a miss. It's just that publicly then it looks, that way. So you have to ask God to do so. But you have to take a risk. There is no calm sea that ever made the best sailor. You have to get into the turbulence and pay the price. The price of liberty is eternal vigilance. But price is the sacrifice you make to acquire. Yeah. There are people who know how to move when everything has been set up, and they somehow survive. But sometimes it's better when you move when it doesn't look like it is the right thing to do, because you are true to yourself. Again, sometimes it's also about following your values and disagreeing with what is happening. So when you talk about personal values versus your political party, there are two things. You have to be pragmatic. Anissa. The political party gives you the platform to exercise the values. So you have to trade off the platform. When you get there, then you implement your values. Don't look so much as the party leadership, because it may be symbolic. In fact, more often than not what they say in politics, whatever they are saying with their mouth is very different. Our political parties are some of the most undemocratic, by the way. But they will have the name Democratic Movement, Democratic something. So you fight for your space. Then when you get the platform, you will get into, because how then you go die there unknown with your values? Then you will die with your passions in the middle of nowhere. You get the point? Yeah, it's not so much about the people around you, it's about you. And most likely what they claim to be. But when it comes to elections, you see even parties that say they are social democratic. They just look like it's the rule of the jungle. There's a way in which power has not really changed in the way it used to. People used to survive in the jungle. By the way, let me be honest with you there. It's not usually that soft as it sounds. At some point, there must be some antagonism. There must be some let-up. Something must give. Please take that seriously. Despite all the clothing of democracy with the franchise and just casting a vote and going back home to wait for somebody to count, there's a way in which there is, yeah. I hope I've made my point. You follow. So now, do not allow other people to brand you. That is what Kalonzo did. During the yes and no campaign, he was the leading candidate to be president, by the way. Yes, true. He was leading at 45% approval rating. But Raila Odinga is the one who branded him watermelon. Then he went ahead to confirm by some of the moves that he was. But it also profited him because when he was in between in 2007, he ended up becoming the vice president. But also, don't give up when it has stuck that you are this kind of person. Because at some point, Mwai Kibaki was called the general coward, the coward of the county, the coward of the nation. But he still became president, yeah? They were, I didn't want that. Yeah. So at some point, you'll be branded that way. But eventually, when you win, when you get it, then people start saying, oh, it's a winner-take-it-all system. So when you are in the trenches, nobody will recognize your attributes. In fact, you may be described in such a manner that you also want to meet the person who is being talked about. But then when you win, the same people start saying, oh, that guy is intelligent, oh, he's very eloquent. Yeah. So don't also be dissuaded by the branding that others can do. Just be consistent in what you want. Because why do people brand you negatively? Because they don't want the others to realize what you're capable of. That's true. It's a competition. And by the way, propaganda is political communication. It can save up to 60% of your campaign. So I think I've tried to answer that one. Boaz, the question you're asking about the scheming, I think I answered that. Scheme, yeah, thank you for also being in that program. By the way, if you allow me to tell you about the story between myself and Karen Wakoli, in 2008, I thought I had lost it. I had an international job. I was working in Papua New Guinea. It came to an end abruptly. I had failed. And by the way, leaders must read. So I came across a book by John G. Maxwell called Failing Forward. It really worked on me. It was a turning point, because you also have turning points when everything just crumbles. It really worked on me. And that's how I was able to pull myself up. In 2009, I wrote my first book. I bought my first car, those kind of things. Now, Karen Wakoli also, at some point, wanted to go back to Bungoma to dig. And then I talked to her, I gave her the book, and today you can see you've gone through a program that she has prepared. So you'll have moments where your strategy does not work. You know, everything that you know and you thought of will not work. That's the time you will lose yourself. Be consistent. When you feel that you know that rejection of failure, actually, you see who was asking.
Yes.
Failure is not easy. That sense of rejection can even make one to get into depression. But you must rise up. I don't envy Raila Odinga. I met him after he lost the 4th time, and he told me he will not run again. He still ran. I wish him well. I hope he can be the next AU Commission chair. He's my boss, somebody I've worked with for 10 years. But I think when you lose first, the second loss is not as painful. But the first one, my guy, because you lose at some point, some of you, please don't kill yourself. I have survived it. I've run for MP Roiro twice. I lost in the primaries. In 2017, I spent 31 million shillings. The next time I have spent about 30 or so. So it was much cheaper because you can see the loss of value for money in the 5 years. So my strategy was, and it's a good thing I say this, Arms, was I get nominated. So you volunteer to a party, people get to know you, then you get a chance there. You can even be appointed in another job, then you save the money and you contest. So there are many ways to get into politics. Don't feel like it is so constrained. Then I was so now that I'm a member of parliament, I'll save money and run. And then if I lose, then that's okay. I've moved on in my career. I'm a professional. So have things that you back up. But please note, it will come at a point where you will not even have money after you have lost. When you put your all into politics, have the temerity to rise up again and go to the basics. Leave your uheshimiwa and do the basics. Don't go by the public perception of people, because those are the same people who will ask you to go for harambes when you no longer have an income. Are we together? So at that point in time, you refashion yourself. If you need to go and work for someone or do consultancies or even run a small business, it doesn't have to be public. But then you have to start all over again. Don't fail to be humble enough to start all over again, because at some point you'll find yourself there. The other issue is the So I've spoken about personal values versus loyalty to the party. That is for Amisa. I've spoken about branding yourself. You'll be branded. It's either you brand. Okay, when you're in a crisis, and you find that people are trying to character assassinate you through social media. I have gone through that. When I was being removed from the Senate, 1 week before, there were articles that were written in the newspapers. There were social media trends. I even wanted to meet who is this Isaac Mwaura. In the heat of that moment, also push your narrative. Are we together? Tell your story, because that is what will stick after that fight is over. Don't just be fought, now ufanye nini? Unyamaze. Tell your story and use all what you can. But sometimes you'll be so weak that you may not have that voice. You'll remember this conversation when you'll be in those programs. The people who can only stand and speak for you are the ones that you are good, the ones that you mentored, the ones that you helped. They are the only ones who can come through for you. It's a lonely journey. Sometimes there will be even nobody, even those that you helped. But chances are that the structures that you may have created are the ones who will speak for you. And I'm sure Joshua Kulea, you relate that, because I'm sure you may have also been attacked at some point with your campaign in Istanbul, with the guards. So please also create structures that also speak for you and support you. Even financially, have people who can fund your campaign, because part of what you will need is also people who can finance your campaign. Sometimes it could be NGOs who may not give you money, but they can even give you branded materials for, like t-shirts and whatever. Have network, create networks that also are useful for you. And also people who will also be there to hear your story as part of healing when sometimes things don't work the way they do. Now the issue of pilferage in public service, the truth, I think it's a problem of budgeting. People budget to steal. The systems are also such that they are too rigid. Sometimes also procurement takes too long, and therefore then absorption capacity. I am now in government, I can tell you, I've been in 2 hours of government, so I can tell you. I have been able to serve at the ministerial level, at the state agency level, and also now within the executives of the president, and also in the 2 houses of parliament. So I can tell you that's a problem. But also, like recently somebody came to me, there's an amount of money that I'm entitled for airtime every month. Surely it was so much. I told that person, I can't approve that money for myself. Because I know how much I spend on a phone. Yeah? For a month, the much I would spend on this phone, the one for Safaricom postpaid, maybe 6,000. Then why would I have much more than that? It's wastage. I said, no, return that thing. I don't need it. You have to have those things of saying no. Somebody says, oh, let's buy 10 phones, each worth 300,000. Surely, do you need that? So you have, now that is now where value comes in. Yeah. Even when you are proving you are at that position. So those are the kind of things that you have to just enable yourself to do so. But also, don't also criminalize making money. Yeah? Yeah. If you can find a way where you make money legitimately, we are not calling you onto poverty. You have to find a way that does not corrupt your morals. There are ways, because that's how businessmen make money. You can't tell me all businessmen are corrupt. Don't be a Puritan, saying that because I bought a pen for 10 shillings and I sold it at 15, I called the one who I sold it to. You have also used your brain and your transport and time and thinking. Are you getting the point? Eh? So don't be on the extreme as well, because then you will end up being impractical. So it's a balancing act. Party primaries are the most corrupt because they have no structures, especially for political parties that do not even have only existed a year old. UDA was the same, Jubilee was the same, ODM was the same. 10 years ago, I ran to be Deputy Secretary General of ODM. You remember the famous Men in Black? Yes. Yeah, I was the star of the Men in Black. Yes. Yeah. I thought I spent a couple of millions of shillings because I was loyal to the party. I wanted to be the Deputy Secretary General. And of course, we saw a very long, but I was able to disrupt that one because I believe they also against. So the point is, party primaries are very uncoordinated. I mean, that's where most leaders don't make it. And in certain regions, if you win the party ticket, you are as good as elected. So I came up with the party primaries bill. Okay. But because I ran into problems with the last administration, they had alterated my bill and made a lot of 60% of it and put it in the political parties amendments. But I had a bill to fix the party primaries. The challenge with party primaries is sometimes party leaders want to have their own candidates who are not popular on the ground. The moment people people don't vote for. What I've realized over time, people don't quite vote for you, they vote for the party. You get, Okay. So then you need to push yourself until you get the party ticket. Part of it will be that you are loyal, you finance the party and what have you. So there is a bit murky. I wish it could be like, we are just here and use electronically even if you are working, because middle class don't vote by the way. Don't rely on them sometimes on party primaries. They are secondary voters, just like they are secondary in terms of economic hierarchies. Yeah, I think I've said something that you may not have noted. You get that? Yeah. So primary elections are also for primary voters. And primary voters are your fellow, the ones who just hang around there. Because these ones will be at work and they'll be too busy. So we still have not, the point I'm trying to say is we've not gotten it right on party primaries. Yeah. I used my experience to propose a bill with the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. We did a lot of work with IBC. It was very good party. But the moment I was thrown out of the Senate, you remember there was a bill, Kenyan, in the December of 2021, Parliament was recalled and there was almost a physical fight. It was my bill. Even Kimunya said that is Isaac Mwaura's bill. But you see now they didn't do it the way I wanted. Yeah. So if you ever happen to be in spaces where you can, we need to actually put party primaries within the ambit of the law. IBC does not want to deal with it because it will have soiled them by the time they go to the main election. So they are arbitrated internally, but then you find parties have no capacity to conduct primaries. Yeah, they don't. Maybe if you go electronically, it may help, but then of course even machines can be manipulated. So, yeah. Now the issue of Josephine, I actually honestly thought you'd end up in Parliament in 2017. Because you played a very key role in the Jubilee campaigns. You were one of the key speakers in the convention, right? So you asked me what would I approach differently? There is this hunger to win elections. Right? So you also feel you want to go and box people and steal the vote and run with it and declare yourself a winner. Sometimes you have that, but you sell your soul to the devil. So as a human, you may think that is it, because you also want to feel machismo and male who went and grabbed it. But then, do you even have legitimacy? Or will you walk around here thinking like, I stole this thing? When you have that, will you even serve people well? You know that they are not the ones who really elected you. And that is a conversation nobody will ever want to have because it is in your inner recesses. It's only you who knows. If you steal primaries and then you are sanitized by the main election, you still suffer from illegitimacy from deep within. So you keep your values. It comes with a price. That's what I would say. Otherwise, also don't go regretting. Learn your lessons. In anything, you never lose. Because at least even if you don't get what you want, you go with the lesson and they make you better. By the way, the best moments are not sometimes when you are succeeding. It's when you have lost. Because you have a broken and contrite spirit. Then you are now there at the valleys. And now you can also reason and become more human. And then you can take away all the pretensions that come with the clothing of positions and power. Then you can serve people well. Some of the best leaders were not made because they were on a winning streak. It's when they lost and they became the best like Abraham Lincoln. So failure is also part of making it. We are still being made until we succeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much.